learners, in this video we will study about Indian society, its changes and transitions during the various phases. We will also learn about the factors that shaped social changes in India. We will study about agrarian relations and its impact on social communities, and we will also analyze the social changes in the contemporary period. We have studied already society in India, a historical perspective which was related to the later Vedic period. Society in India has been historically marked by several conquests and invasions. However, prior to the British conquest, these invasions led to the change in the political regime. As far as the economic structure of India was concerned, the political changes did not penetrate largely to the agrarian village society. India had maintained a relatively stable, stagnant socio-economic existence for several centuries, and many sociologists and social anthropologists have also explained that Indian society was primarily based on a self-sufficient village system, which was based on certain features such as the land was possessed by the community, there was a unity of villages in terms of their agricultural produce and the rural industry. The village was a unit of revenue assessment, and the village production was mostly used by the village community. So, for centuries, despite the foreign invasions and military conquest and religious upheavals, number of features remain common across the village structure. Now, let us discuss the changes in the society in the Gupta and the post-Gupta period. The period of Indian society which followed the disintegration of the Mauryan Empire brought many changes in the social and cultural structure. There was a decline in the influence of Buddhism and Jainism. We know that Buddhist preachings got a wider reach outside the country during this period, and within the country, both Buddhism and Jainism had always concentrated and flourished in certain areas due to patronage from king. The decline took place due to changes in the cult, emergence of new forms, renaissance in Hindu philosophy, epics, code books and other traditions. With the weakening of the Mauryan Empire, there were invasions from Central Asia by Kushans, Indo-Greeks, and as a result of it, they established their own kingdoms which were short-lived, and many of them also followed Buddhism. This led to emergence of a new community which had to be integrated within the caste fold. It also contributed to the fragmentation of caste into subcaste. Despite the feudality of polity of the economy and the social organization through guilds and business houses in cities, the peasant class in the village still flourished. And we know that the Gupta period is considered to be a period of golden age in India, where we had renaissance in literature, architecture, philosophy and Hindu thought. So, as a result of it, the consolidation of social codes and laws governing Hindu society known as Smritis arose. This renaissance, which came with the enforcement of the various initiatives by Chandragupta I, who ruled the Magad and the East Uttar Pradesh. During this period of time, there was a lot of philosophical and architectural developments, and it is considered to be a classical period of Indian history. Now, as far as social and economic changes are concerned, the Gupta period led to the consolidation and expansion of social and economic institutions. It led to changes in the revenue system. It facilitated the expansion of investment in business, commerce and production of various arts and craft. The social organization of guild and their function was also reinforced. Encoding of various social laws through Manudharam Shastras and consolidation of the position of the Brahmanas was also very important during this time. The notion of Dvij or twice born came into existence. As a result of it, there were a lot of distinctions that came up. In the terms of Buddhist monasteries, their influence was wide, but there were a number of classes that emerged during that time period. There was multiplicity of caste and subcaste which increased because of continual migration of new communities, emergence of occupational categories due to expansion of administration and intellectual activities, rise in professions, social mobility among castes through conversions and reconversions between Hinduism and Buddhism. Jainism also gave rise to a number of castes and subcastes due to occupational specializations in different lineages. Prosperity in agriculture led to increase in rural division of labor, giving rise to a number of subcategories of caste and subcaste. An important distinctive feature of this period is the renaissance in intellectual production such as literature, philosophy, art and architecture. Aryabhatta made his basic astronomical contribution. Varamira's astronomical work emerged during this time period. Kalidas' famous play Shakuntalam and Meghdut, and the growth of 6 philosophical systems Nyaya, Vaisheshik, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa and Vedanta took place during this time period. The Puranas were also composed and popularized. In addition to this, there was a lot of contribution in terms of temple architecture, the construction of Buddhist chaityas and stupas, and many other artistic creations which led to the growth of new social classes. Now let us understand the social changes in Southern Kingdom. In terms of social and cultural changes, we witnessed during this period a continuous interaction between the people of Northern and Southern Kingdom. There was a migration of scholars, artists, trading and banking community which increased to a significant level. It was due to this period that we have the lot of export of agrarian products and textiles. There were a lot of maritime trade activities, export and import. This also increased interaction between north, south and western regions. We have a mercantile community known as Shettis or financiers which emerged during this time period, and they could be compared with Chettis of southern India. Brahmanical and Vedic literature and philosophical interpretations flourished in southern India. The southern kingdom of Chola, Chalukyas and Satavahanas brought about new impetus to economic, cultural and religious creativity which attracted people from other regions. Buddhism also traveled to Far East, to Java, Sumatra, Thailand, China, etc. This led to increased interaction with regions in India, and also it led to lot of social changes. So, we have studied that due to changes and emergence of new philosophy and religion, there was also a change in the Hindu religious movement, and in the classical Gupta period, we find that the regional forces also played a very important role. We have various Hindu sects such as Vaishnava sect or the Lingaya movement which also came up during this time period, and it led to a lot of integration of people. Whereas the Vaishnava system retaliated Brahmanical system of belief and rituals, but the Lingayites questioned the authority of the Vedas and the rituals, and as a result of it we have new practices such as Tantrism and the magico religious beliefs that developed in certain parts of India. So towards the end of the classical period of Gupta, it was not only the southern kingdoms, but it was basically a complete change in the social and cultural dynamics, religious practices and political institutions. With the weakening of this Gupta kingdom, it made easy for the emergence of the Muslim kingdoms to come up in India and develop a new era and bring about changes in Indian society. So, learners, we have studied that in the class in the social structure, and now we are moving towards the medieval period. With the end of classical period, there were a lot of regional disintegrations that took place by different clans. Chauhans, Parihars, Chandelas established their rule in north and western India. There were conflicts and rivalries among them. By AD 977, Muhammad of Ghazni, who basically was located in northern Afghanistan, invaded northern India. He was later followed by Muhammad Ghori, whose invasion eventually led to the establishment of the rule of Turks and Afghans. It was the beginning of the Sultanate period, which lasted up to AD 1526, and from this period onwards the rule of the Mughals came up in India, which ushered a new dimension of social change. Now let us study the changes in the caste structure. Major changes in the caste structure took place during the reign of sultans and the Mughals. These changes were due to the expansion of economic and trade activities, and also due to the forces of internal differentiation. And one of the main reasons was the contact between two major traditions, that is Hinduism and Islam. Whereas Hinduism focused on caste hierarchy, cultural and social inequalities by birth, concept of karma, which is based on deeds in past life, whereas on the other hand Islam preached universal brotherhood. Despite the differences in the ideology and the worldwide reach, we perceive that it led to number of growth in terms of caste and social groups in Indian society. This was primarily due to the adaptive tendencies within Indian Islam to accommodate the converts of the faith groups, which were having already caste divisions. So it led to a new social change, which was based on a class structure, which was basically managed by the upper class who had settled down in India from abroad. The rule of endogamy was strictly practiced by the Muslim rulers, and we have an aristocratic class that emerged during this time period. Another institution which led to the growth of caste-like structure was the differentiation of caste group among Hindus and the new agrarian structure. We have studied earlier that in terms of the Gupta period, there were not much changes as far as the concept of agrarian relations were there, but during the Muslim kingdom, there were changes in the system of land grants. The land grants were given to the nobles, and they were by the king, and they were the assignees. It was the obligation on their part to provide services to the king by predetermined conventions such as tributes and taxes, providing soldiers and maintaining them on behalf of the king, and rendering various services. So as a result of it, due to these emergence of nobility, there are changes in the overall social structure. They were offering gifts, they had armed forces, they observed many customary rituals to show respect towards the king. This led to a new set of social and cultural norm of inequality, which had its deep roots in socio-economic and cultural domains. With the changes in the agrarian system, there were changes that we could see in the structure of caste also. It led to economic and social consolidation of peasant caste in most of part of the country, who wanted to protect their interests in relation to their jagirdars. There were series of protest movements and revolts during the Mughal period, and which the king had to mediate upon to maintain social and economic peace. Now let us study the changes in the caste related to the Hindus and Muslims during this time period. Many changes took place in the caste system during the Muslim rule, that is from the Sultanate to the end of the Mughal rule, which had a far-reaching implication for the society. Among the Hindu caste, the contact with Islamic culture not only led to new cultural processes and beliefs and rituals, but it also led to changes in the structure of caste. There were growth of new roles or occupational categories, which led to emergence of new caste. The clear distinction between the upper caste and the lower caste remained. There were members from low Muslim occupational groups or caste who emerged. We have certain castes such as the caste like Kayastha, with subcaste during this period which mark a significant change. So we have a long history, a lot of records that are available that new caste emerged and they assumed important administrative and clerical roles during the rule of Muslim kings. So, learners, we have studied that medieval period is important for us because there were new social groups that emerged on account of the entry of Turks and Mughals, and due to this there were new ranks of elite nobles, and the towns were filled with petty government officials. The Mansabdari system also emerged during this period, which led to the growth of social elite class. The Turkish rulers paid their nobility in the form of ikkats or revenue assignments, and the holders came to be known as ikkat wali or mukti. These assignees were allocated a specific territory and they were supposed to collect the revenue and send the surplus to the state. Ikkadars were supposed to maintain law and order in their territory and extract land revenue. So, they were the ones who were responsible for the general administration. As a result of it, there was an emergence of a Mughal ruling elite which were known as Mansabdars. All Mughal nobles were given the title of Mansabdars. The term Mansab itself denotes a place or a position. These nobles were supposed to follow the order of the king and pay their revenue accordingly. As a result of it, there were further subforms that took place. For example, Mansabdars were paid in the form of Jagir, so the holders of the Jagirs were known as Jagirdars, and they were assigned a specific territory to collect their produce. So, a caste-like structure emerged within the Muslim community also due to differentiation of racial or ethnic divisions, occupational hierarchies and caste ranking. So, we had the original migrants who belonged to the warrior groups, who had distinctive racial features and who constituted the ruling elite made up of the upper caste for the Muslim community. Sayyids, Sheikhs, Pathans coming from Turco-Afghan, Persian and Mughal origin made the upper hierarchy, and then we had the host of middle rank Muslim caste of artisans, weavers, cultivators and traders who were named by the local names such as Chulaha, Ansar, Darzi, and they were basically occupational based. There were certain castes which were performing various other jobs like Bhishti, water carrier, Bahelia, trappers, etc. Then we had another category of Peer, Fakir and Darwish which emerged during the growth of Muslim shrines and the synthesis of Sufi traditions. This tradition emerged because of the interaction between the Islamic and Hindu traditions at the grassroots level, and it also influenced a large number of Hindu population. So, we have studied that there were a number of changes that took place in the social structure with the invasion of the Turks and the Mughals, and it led to the growth of rapid vertical social mobility. After the Mughal period, the next important period is the colonial period, and we know that the British East India Company had emerged very powerful from the death of Aurangzeb in 1706 to 1818, when the Maratha power was crushed. The British supremacy was recognized all over the subcontinent. They had ruined the indigenous industries. There was a lot of economic impact which led to widespread impoverishment of the artisans. And we have also studied earlier in our books in our school that many of the revenue that was collected from the trading activities and the profits derived was also remitted by the company and the British Crown, which led to drain of wealth. During this period, there was a lot of changes that took place in the Indian society because the Britishers introduced railway system for transportation of goods and for effective communication. They also introduced telegraph and postal system. They also were responsible for industrialization of this country. So, due to these economic changes, we find that there was a direct impact on the social structure as well as the social relationship of India. There were various cultural movements that took place during the period which focused on the problems related to caste as well as the problems of agricultural labors. The social reform movements focused on the problems that emerged because of the emergence of the class of zamindars, which was introduced by the Lord Cornwallis in 1793. This settlement led to a growth of new class in India who were more responsible towards the British Parliament and the British Viceroy rather than taking care of the village community. So, the British conquest led to tremendous changes in the social, economic and ideological framework of the society. The colonial impact destroyed the self-sufficient village economy and the society. It introduced new concept of equality, liberalism, humanism and rationality. We had the emergence of class of intellectuals who largely belonged to the upper caste and who were responsible for the revivalist movements and the reform movements, such as Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Swami Dayanand Saraswati, who focused on equality and emancipation of women. In the post-colonial period, we find that we are independent from the British government, and we are the most important country which is governed by the Constitution. The preamble of the Constitution provides us the guidelines about equality, sovereignty, as well as freedom of all the citizens. The Constitution aims to secure its citizens justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. The post-colonial Indian society today is marked by a lot of changes with the introduction of 5-year plans and the development of mixed economy. New sectors emerged both in the public and the private area. Today, in the private sector, service sector is the most dominated sector, and the zamindari system was abolished by the government after independence. There was an effective land distribution policy that was adopted. Number of land reforms were introduced to help the people from the lower classes to gain and to empower them. Number of community development programs were also initiated by the government to bring about socio-economic changes in rural areas. Today, with the development of science, technology and information technology, we are coming up with new class of people in the urban areas, as well as with the growth of agriculture and industrialization in different parts of the country, the society is emerging in a big way. So, learners, in this video we have understood that during the medieval time period and the British time period, fundamental changes took place in the Indian social structure, and after post independence and in the contemporary period, we see rise of number of caste and class, and economic development has led to interstate migration as well as changes in the norms and traditions of the traditional caste system that we follow. Thank you.